Greetings. Welcome to our podcasts where we sit at Jesus' feet until he is formed in us. I am your brother and a fellow disciple, Emmanuel Ranganai. As always, our podcast teachings are released every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. If you plan to get any notifications, I invite you to subscribe to the channel on whichever platform you are listening to. As we continue with the kingdom of God, last episode, we looked at God's kingdom being established at Christ's return. Today, we are going to look into the kingdom of God and God dwelling with his people in a renewed creation. We are also going to read the same main verse we read last time. That is Matthew chapter 25, verse 31 and 34. I'll read. When the Son of Man comes in his glory, and all the angels with him, he will sit on his glorious throne, and all the nations will be gathered before him, and he will separate the people. I like this verse, especially when it tells us that this kingdom was prepared from the beginning of the world. It's so interesting that God is doing amazing thing for us from the creation. So we want to look into the kingdom of God, the kingdom within us now. Remember in our last episode, we said we need to invite Christ into our hearts since he is now targeting individuals, which we say the kingdom begins in our hearts. It grows like a mustard seed or yeast in dough. That is Matthew chapter 13, verse 31 to 33. If you are interested in the two parables, the parable of the mustard seed and the yeast teaching, go into the teachings on our episode, on our podcasts. My sister Wongai did two amazing teachings about the mustard seed and the yeast in dough. We prepare ourselves to be part of this kingdom by letting Christ rule in our lives. We talk of Romans chapter 10, verse 9 to 10, which says, if you openly declare that Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. In other words, you'll be part of the kingdom. It further says, for it is by believing in your heart that you are made right with God, and it is by openly declaring your faith that you are saved. Let me give a warning here that the immoral, the impure, and greedy have no inheritance in this kingdom of God. If we read Ephesians chapter 5, verse 5, clearly says it. We said Christ is coming back, and it's also important for us to know that Christ's return is certain. Just confirmed he will return. If we read Acts chapter 1, verse 11, it says, they said, why do you stand here looking into the sky? The same Jesus who has been taken from you into heaven will come back in the same way you have seen him go into heaven. In other words, these are angels confirming that Jesus will come back. Again, if we read the book of Revelation, chapter 21, verse 1 to 4, it describes a new heaven and a new earth where God will dwell with his people. Revelation chapter 22, verse 3 shows God's throne among his people. It reads, no longer will there be any curse. The throne of God and the Lamb will be in the city, and his servants will serve him. In other words, God will dwell, or he will tabernacle in our midst. Also important maybe to look into this question, which one might pose. What happens to the old creation? If we read 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 13, God promises a new creation where righteousness will dwell, and old creation will pass away. Rebellion will not enter the kingdom of God. Unlike earthly kingdoms where there are casualties. In the new creation, there will be no more death or tears. In other words, we'll live in peace, in harmony in this new kingdom of God. Let's look into the promise of Jesus Christ regarding his coming back. Revelation chapter 22, verse 12, Jesus says, "Behold, I'm coming soon." If you read the King James Version, actually says, "I am coming immediately, quickly." It is quickly. Some scoffers may doubt this. I think 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 3, 2 Peter chapter 3, actually, verse 3 to 5, um, says, these scoffers have been there questioning the coming back of Jesus Christ. But Peter reminds them that the delay is God's patience that everyone might be saved. So let's not be discouraged by time or what may seem like the delay is coming soon. Remember, a day can be 1,000 days to God, and 1,000 days can be a day. Is definitely coming. John chapter 14, verse 3 says, Jesus has gone to prepare a place and he will return to come and take us. So it's not like Christ is gone and he has just forgotten us. We believe he is preparing a place so that he can come and take us to be with him. The Bible is full of evidence that Christ will come back and establish his kingdom where he will dwell among his people forever. My call today is that you commit yourself to be part of this kingdom by giving your life to Christ, the King, and start living according to the commands that are not, to his commands that are not burdensome. Until next time, stay blessed and keep learning as disciples of God's kingdom. Disciples never graduate. Thank you.